Hey everyone, this is Dr. Drizzle and welcome to the National Parks Expedition Challenge. Today we're in Oakhurst, which sounds a little strange, but we're right on the doorstep of Yosemite National Park where we have spent the last few days. And we have caught up with our amazing ranger Anastasia. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to finally meet you in person.
Yes, we've worked together for about a year now, but thanks for allowing us to come to your hometown actually, because what's up with the weather here? Tell me, I mean, it's beautiful right here, but well, we'll get there in just a minute, okay? How did you get to Yosemite National Park? What is your story?
I took a very long and twisty, windy road to get here, but I think it probably all started at school when I realized that I liked science classes. I decided to go to college, and when I went to college, I took a lot of different kind of classes, and it turns out the thing that my favorite classes all had in common was they were outside. And so I started thinking about jobs that I could get that would bring me outside for most of the day. And someone recommended getting a job as an intern, as a volunteer at Canyonlands National Park. Have you been to that park?
We have been there, yes,
Cool.
in Utah.
And so I just fell in love with being outside all the time. And yeah, it's taken me from Canyonlands to Denali National Park in Alaska.
We were there this summer.
You were? And to Yellowstone National Park as a guide for people who wanted to see wolves. And then at Grand Canyon National Park, working with school kids doing field trips. And now here I am at Yosemite.
Well, that's cool. Well, actually, we're not actually in Yosemite right now, so let's go and tell the story real quickly, because I think it's going to sort of segue into the beauty of where we are. So we were supposed to meet in Yosemite today, this morning, and you couldn't get there because of snow. So
Yes.
How does snow work its way into this whole idea of Yosemite?
Well, it pretty much like clockwork. In the middle of October, it switches from being really hot and really dry to snowing overnight. And when I drove up the road to meet you this morning, I got up to the highest spot where the road meets Glacier Point Road, and another ranger said that they had closed the road from that point because we already had winter weather. So just literally overnight it has become winter. But I get really excited when it's winter because one of the things that makes Yosemite National Park really special is the snow. It's the frozen water that falls from these big poofy clouds, falls all winter, and gathers in the high mountains. And it is so cold in those mountains that it melts very slowly and dribbles through the soil all summer, watering the roots of the plants and refilling the rivers and the streams so that all the plants and animals can have water. And some of that water also goes into Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, which people in San Francisco rely on in their kitchen taps. So it's really this magical process that starts in the winter when the snow starts to fall. So even though it was frustrating to not get to see you in the valley, it just was a reminder of the magic of water that we have here in the mountains.
So it's a whole natural irrigation system. It just doesn't all come at once. It spreads itself out so it can make sure that everything's taken care of. So is that the reason that Bridal Veil Falls and Yosemite Lower Falls and Upper Falls, there was not a lot of water there?
Absolutely. So basically, if you see water falling from one of those waterfalls, you know that some of that snow is still melting and still trickling through. And about maybe a month ago, those waterfalls went completely dry, and you can only see that little bit of a shadow on the rock where water will be in the spring. Was there any water this morning after last night's snow?
There was a little bit of water coming down, which was kind of exciting. It wasn't a rush like a waterfall, but yeah, there was some stuff there.
A little trickle.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the little clue as to what's happening high up when you see those waterfalls flowing.
Well, besides the waterfalls, we also saw some amazing things. We went to Mariposa Grove and we saw these beautiful sequoias, and we actually climbed up to where the grizzly giant was. Yes. And we also went around and saw Half Dome and El Capitan. So What is your favorite thing at Yosemite National Park?
Oh, that is such a hard question. I know that I'm really looking forward to the winter this year because during the winter, up by where you were near the Grizzly Giant, they allow camping right at the foot of all of those giant sequoia monarch trees. And so my plan this winter is to go for some snowshoeing when it's snowy, up to do some camping and eat some cookies and maybe make some s'mores underneath those giant sequoias. But during the summertime, my favorite thing is to hike, and I had a chance to actually hike Half Dome. I'll have to send you a picture of me on my way just before I hit the cables going up.
Oh wow, that sounds very exciting.
It is exciting.
Well, there's a lot of natural stuff going on there, and I saw some animals. So we actually got deer and bear in pictures. What else can we find?
Well, you are maybe at the tail end of seeing one of my favorite insects, which is the monarch butterfly. And that's one that I hope a lot of kids have had a chance to see this summer because it's a migrant that flies from the south to the north and comes through a lot of areas in North America to lay eggs on milkweed and then grow caterpillars that eat the milkweed and then have those beautiful orange butterflies in their final stage. And those, you might be able to catch the last ones. They're on their way to make their migration to the coast here soon. Another favorite of mine is basically I like all birds because no matter where you go, no matter what your backyard is, you have birds that are your neighbors. And Yosemite, because it has so many different kinds of places down here where it's warm and dry and up high where it's really cold and has a lot of snow, there are just a rainbow of birds that live in every nook, every cranny, every niche that you can find along that way. So I'm a big bird fan.
Now, there's something that's dangerous there too. Tell us about one of those dangerous animals, if you will.
I have a picture that I brought.
I'd love to see that.
Do you want to give me a drum roll?
Dun da da.
It is
upside down.
Upside down. It is the squirrel.
Tell us about that.
Well, squirrels have a very good sniffer, really good sense of smell, and they are omnivores. They're generalists, so they can eat pretty much anything you or I can, and they want to get into your picnic, and so they will approach people, and they're so cute, and people hold their hands out, and they are the #1 animal to cause injury to people because they bite visitors' fingers. So basically, I tell folks to take photos of squirrels like this one, but to keep their fingers to themselves and even to scare them off if they look like they're coming too close or coming to say hello, because this is the most dangerous animal in Yosemite National Park.
Which is very strange because of its size, but we know that that's also a problem in Zion and Grand Canyon and a couple of other places.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, they carry diseases, and we know that they carry things. But we're not helping them out either, because if we're constantly giving them food, they're going to forget how to forage for themselves,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, and another ranger told me just a couple months ago that they keep caches or sort of groups of food for themselves in different places around the park. And it's mostly wild food like acorns, but if they put something sticky or human food, like a Snickers bar, that will rot all of their other food, and it will mean that all that food they worked so hard to save all goes bad. So yeah,
so we
definitely
need to stay away from that.
Keep them wild. That's the best way to do. Let them do their wild animal thing. They're fun to watch.
They are fun. Well, tell us about the park. Like, when did it become, it's one of the oldest, right? So tell us about the history of that.
Yeah, in 1864, Abraham Lincoln signed the Yosemite Grant, which set aside for public enjoyment the Mariposa Grove that you visited with those beautiful tall trees, and also set aside the Yosemite Valley where you were spending the night. And that stayed that way for a while. There was a guardian in charge of protecting all of that, and the Buffalo Soldiers guarded the early Yosemite National Park. And then in 1890 was when it became, when land around that was designated a national park. So set aside for everyone's enjoyment and owned by and run by the whole nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things we love about the national parks is, the history of it and who lived there and how it became a national park. I was able to get my picture taken at Glacier Point, where John Muir and President Teddy Roosevelt actually had their picture taken. So I guess you guys have a lot of connection to President Roosevelt and to John Muir, because he did a lot of his writings about that place.
Absolutely, yeah. He saw something really spiritual in all of the natural scenic beauty of Yosemite when he lived here, and he basically made it a really big priority to tell everyone just how special Yosemite was, but also nature in general, and how it was important for all of us to make decisions to protect it in order to make sure that that it remained the way it is.
Well, I'm glad they did that, because now we have over 420 national park sites around the country, because they don't have to be just national parks. We have visited monuments and memorials and landmarks and seashores. I'm excited about this park especially because we want to give our kids an opportunity to create and design something that's going to help you guys out, because Yosemite has so many recreation things, right?
Yes.
So what is your favorite recreation?
Well, my favorite is kind of split between hiking or walking and rock climbing.
Oh, and there's a couple places where you can do that, and we're going to look at the half dome where your pictures were. But wouldn't it be cool if we could get kids to create things that would help out hikers and climbers and bikers? So let's do that now.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So kids, goal number 3 for the United Nations Global Goals talks about staying healthy and getting outdoors and doing things for yourself. So we're going to ask you to research all of the different activities that you can do at Yosemite in the spring, summer, fall, and winter. And we want you to create some type of equipment that could be used by people who visit there. Now, you need to think about what type of activity you're choosing and then what kind of safety measures you would need. So for example, if you were going to create something for a climber to climb El Capitan or Half Dome, you have to think about the ropes and the cables and the carabiners. Or you might want to think about the material that they put on their hands, like when they're climbing up there, or better shoes, because they have to have particular shoes. Now, if you're going to be going hiking, think about a new type of water bottle that's going to be light but still carry enough water, because we know we need to make sure we're drinking when we're walking. Think about snowshoeing. What kind of new skis or snowshoes could you create? We want you to design this. You can do it by yourself, or Dr. Drizzle loves collaboration. So build this, and then you're going to send your designs and tag us on social media at Dacia92 and hashtag NatParkChallenge. And also we want you to tag Yosemite. So that's running across the screen right now, because Ranger Anastasia can show this to other rangers and perhaps some of the gift shops and say, hey, there's kids out there really trying to solve this problem.
I would love to see what people think up.
Yeah, and she might even wear some of this. Like, we could do some designs. Now, we know you're doing prototypes, so we know that the things that you're using are going to be made out of maybe recyclable materials, but your job is to come up with the idea and the prototype. It'll be our job to figure out how we can get that created or made.
That sounds fun.
I think so, because all of the stuff that they're going to learn about Yosemite will go into this design. And maybe even create something that will keep people so occupied they'll stay away from the squirrels too. Ranger Anastasia, our kids that watch these, and we have over 1 million that watch these, they want to be national park rangers when they grow up. Can you give them any advice? I'll let you look at the camera and see if there's any advice you can give them on, like right now, if they're sitting in their 3rd grade classroom or 4th grade classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, one of the first things that you can do is realize that even though the mountains here at Yosemite might look different from how your own backyard looks, just know that there are whole adventures to be had right in your own backyard. There are birds that live there, there are wild animals that live there might be snow or rain that falls there, and a lot of the same elements that we have to protect here are also in your neighborhoods too. So look around your neighborhood. Be curious about what's going on there. Take time to learn when the rain falls, what the birds are, the names of the plants and animals. and the stories of the people that have lived there and that live there now. There's a lot of different kinds of rangers. I am just one kind of ranger that gets the chance to work with kids, but I have friends who wear this exact same outfit and have this exact same awesome hat and get a chance to work in the park, who study rain, air, rocks, who build roads, who decide how the plumbing in new restrooms are going to be put in, and who write things to go in the news so that everybody can know what's going on. There's a lot of different kinds of ways to be a ranger, but I think that the way to start, if you want to get on the path to that field, is to just find something in your own backyard that you want to get into and you want to start asking questions about. Another thing to do would be to plan to volunteer in a park near you, because a lot of us get started as volunteers, which just means you have to put a little bit of time in to help the park. And when it's time, consider going to college, because a lot of ranger positions require at least a 2-year college degree. So that's probably a good start, I think.
I think that's great. That's going to keep them very busy for a while. I hope to see a lot of our kids in the parks in years to come, because I still want to visit. And park rangers are going to grow up, right? And they're going to retire, so we're going to need more people. Thank you for driving up to Yosemite and figuring out you couldn't get there because of the snow, and turning back around and meeting us on our way to another national park. Again, we're in a park in Oakhurst after spending a few days in Yosemite, and we're very thankful to Ranger Anastasia for joining us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for calling me out and for introducing me to all your students.
That was great. All right, kids, well, thank you so much for joining us at the National Park Expedition Challenge in Yosemite National Park. We hope that you'll virtually visit there, but then get out there too. Tell your parents that the next trip you take, you want to go to Yosemite. Is that okay with you?
Oh, please come visit.
Look her up. You might even find her. Have a great afternoon. Make sure that when your passion intersects your purpose, that's when you're the happiest. So this is Dr. Drizzle and Ranger Anastasia, and we're out of here.
Bye.